Great seeing you back for devotions. Okay, we are on Mark chapter 6. Now, today we're going to be looking at the feeding of the 5,000. This is really interesting because there's another story, but it's the feeding of the 4,000. They actually did this 2 different times. Okay, now in this one here, let's go Mark chapter 6, verse 35. Okay, he's got all these crowds. He's healing all these people. This is all I'm covering, this one verse here today, but there's a lot here. It says, and when it grew late, let's imagine, they're serving God all day long. All day. They're tired. The disciples are hungry. The people are hungry. His disciples came to him and said, look, this is a desolate place, and the hour is now late. Send them away to go into the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat. Okay, they're like, Lord, look, I know we've been doing everything for these people, but right now they just got to go home. They got to go feed themselves. And we need to take care of ourselves. Now look at what Jesus says. He answered them, you give them something to eat. It's kind of funny. He goes, no, you do it. They go, what? And they said to him, shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat? This would take one man a whole year's wages to feed all these people. Thousands of people. Those of you, just your wedding, remember how much it cost you to feed those 100 people? It's expensive. They go, hey, this can't be done. But remember, Jesus, they're talking to Jesus. Look here. Jesus says, well, how much do you have now? And he said, well, we got a few loaves of bread, a few fish, 5 loaves, 2 fish. Jesus says, in so many words, not much is always enough when Jesus gets involved. I like this. Now, I've always been led by God to make something out of nothing. I mean, this really built my faith. So I started the church. I lived in the shack. We started in the shack. I didn't have a pulpit, so I set up a box, threw a sheet over it. Okay, so this will work, But you say, God, help me start a business, and you think you have to go out and borrow $100,000 when you could start with no money. I started 2 businesses, no money. I started a cleaning business. It went really, really well. My wife says, you can't start a cleaning business? She goes, you don't have anything. I pulled her sweeper out, her duster out, her dustpan, mop, bucket. I said, I do now. And it was a great business. I was going to start a rental business, and she said, you don't have anything to rent. Well, we had a little old camper, didn't have a bathroom or anything. I said, I rented my new first apartment. She goes, you don't have anything. I said, I rented out the camper. She goes, you can't rent the camper out. It doesn't have a bathroom. I said, I told them they could use ours. That's what I did. Okay, we're going to start churches someday. We're going to start churches the same way. I mean it. Because not much is always enough when Jesus is in it, especially when you believe. So let me ask you, I asked you this question yesterday, I'm going to ask you again. Do you tend to focus on the problem or on the faith that God can solve it? So the disciples just gave this over to the Lord, and of course, Jesus multiplied the fish and multiplied the bread. And the coolest part about the story is when they fed all those people, everybody went away, they had like 12 big containers of food left over. This is all for the disciples and Jesus, and they just had a feast. Listen, God can provide for your needs, but you got to believe, and you have to have faith that the little you have, that the Lord is in it.